All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this Village Board meeting to order on Monday, December 16, 2019. We're very pleased to be joined tonight to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance by the Cub Scout Pack 130 from St. Simon's Episcopal Church and Westgate Elementary School. And we've got their leader, Josh Popp, who will come and introduce the Scouts who are with us tonight, if you would, Josh. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Trustees, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for having us tonight. We have some of our Scouts from Pack 130. We have Beatrice Popp, Lucas Lynn, Nathan Bourne, Brandon Marchinsky, and William Window. And we're ready to go whenever you guys
Please take it away.
All right. Color guard attention. Audience, please rise. Color guard forward march. Scout salute. Those not in uniform, please place your right hand over your heart. Color guard halt. Color guard cross the colors. Post the flag of the United States of America. Color guard post the flag of the Village of Arlington Heights. Color guard honor your colors. Please recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and with liberty and justice for all. Color guard return to ranks. Face this way, guys. Okay, now, color guard about face. Face that way. Color guard forward march. Color guard halt. Color guard at ease. Audience, be seated.
Thank you for a job well done.
Thank you.
All right, would the clerk please call the roll?
Trustee Canty?
Here.
Trustee Scaletta?
Here.
Trustee LaBedz?
Here.
Trustee Baldino? Trustee Tinaglia?
Here.
Trustee Rosenberg?
Here.
Trustee Padovani?
Here.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Here.
President Hayes?
Here. First item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. We've got a number of sets to approve tonight. The first is from the Committee of the Whole meeting from November 12, 2019. Are there any changes or passes? Move approval. Motion to approve by Trustee Scaletta, seconded by Trustee Rosenberg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, the minutes from the Committee of the Whole meeting from November 14, 2019. Any changes or passes?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Trustee Rosenberg, second by Trustee LaBedz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from November 18, 2019. Any changes or passes?
Move approval. Second.
Motion to approve by Trustee Padovani, second by Trustee Schwingbeck. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Next, the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from December 2nd, 2019. Any changes or passes?
Move approval. Second.
Pass.
Motion to approve by Trustee Canty, seconded by Trustee LaBedz, passed by Trustee Tinaglia. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And finally, the Village Board meeting minutes from December 2nd, 2019. Another pass for Trustee Tinaglia and Trustee Padovani. And is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion to approve by Trustee LaBedz, second by Trustee Canty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we move on to the approval of the accounts payable, and I call on Trustee Rosenberg.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. I would move approval of the warrant register with a check date of December 15th, 2019 in the amount of $1,674,413.48.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Rosenberg, second by Trustee Scaletta. Any questions or comments from the board? Anything from the audience? Seeing none, roll call.
Trustee Rosenberg?
Yes.
Trustee Scaletta?
Yes.
Trustee Padovani?
Yes.
Trustee Canty?
Yes.
Trustee Tinaglia?
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck?
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz,
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Well, we move on then to citizens to be heard, and we have no citizens that wish to address the board on items not on the agenda. And so, at least, is that correct, Becky?
I did not receive any cards.
Okay. So we'll move on then to old business, and we do have a number of motions to report out from our committee of the whole meeting on October 25, 2019. Is that
Nope.
date correct?
That references the Building Code Review Board meeting of October 25th, but it's a motion that reported out of the December 9th Committee of the Whole meeting.
That's correct. All right, thank you. And before we start reporting out these motions, Mr. Recklouse, if you could just give us a brief summary of what these motions are all about.
Thank you, Mayor. As referenced, these all are coming from a discussion at the December 9th meeting. At that meeting, the board discussed recommendations of staff and the Building Code Review Board on updates to the village's building codes, which have been updated in over 10 years. These codes have been reviewed over the past several months by staff, and recently in October were discussed by the Building Code Review Board. They're now being worked on by the legal department so the draft codes can be properly referenced in the code. I want to point out that unlike the liquor code or zoning code update, the building codes are very technical documents. They're not merely just updating something in the code. We're reviewing and adopting a number of several hundred-page technical manuals on things like how to construct a joist or how to wire an electrical panel. That's why we have a Building Code Review Board that's made up of experts in the trades and why we employ code professionals on staff. These items will be appearing on the Village Board agenda for adoption in early 2020.
All right, I will begin going down the motions then, and the first one was reported out by Trustee Schwingbeck.
Thank you, Mayor. I move, as I did then, that the Village Board adopt the 2018 International Residential Code in accordance with staff's recommended amendments, except for the elimination of the roofing permits.
Second.
Motion by Trustee Schwingbeck, seconded by Trustee Scaletta. Any questions or comments from the board on this one? We do have a blue card on this particular item. Keith Moons. Keith, if you come forward at this time.
Well, thank you, President Hayes. We talked earlier on this, and so, the way I'm reading this motion was that Trustee Schwingbeck moved and seconded by Trustee Scaletta that the Village Board adopt the 2018 International Residential Code in accordance with the staff's recommendation, except for the elimination of the roofing permits. And then it was unanimously passed. So if you go out tonight, what that's saying is that the sprinklers are out, but the roofing permits are still in, because it says except for the elimination of the roofing permits.
Well,
Correct.
and
No,
Ms. Ward, I think, or Mr. Reckles.
what I was going to say is
address that.
they adopt, what the motion was when I was at the meeting is that they were going along with the staff's recommended amendments, which included the sprinkler change. That was one of the staff recommended amendments. The one that in that motion that they were accepting was the elimination of roofing permits. And then it was a dynamic discussion, and then shortly thereafter, a second motion was made to eliminate the roofing permit process. And so both of these motions do reflect the board's discussion, and I think are pretty clear in terms of what they're directing staff to do.
Yeah, let me just essentially what they did was they took the consideration of the 2018 residential code and considered it in two pieces. The first piece was everything that staff had recommended, but the elimination of the roofing permit process. After that motion passed, they then took up the one piece of the IRC that they had not yet taken up, which was the elimination of the roofing permit process. And that's the second motion. Once this motion's voted on, that's what the second motion is. They essentially just looked at the IRC in two different pieces. One was a much bigger piece, but just two pieces. That's all they did.
But do you agree that it says except for the elimination of the roofing permits? That first motion says that they are accepting the roofing permits to be
No, they're
eliminated. It says except for the elimination of the roofing permits.
Right. Now
And so they're accept that.
In that first motion, they're agreeing with all of the staff recommendations on that code, except for eliminating roof permits, because the staff recommendation recommended the elimination of roof permits.
And then the second motion took up the elimination of the roofing permits. This is one of those where you can't stop reading. There was a first motion. They pulled out the discussion related to elimination of the roofing permit process, and then there was a second motion that addresses the elimination of the roofing permit process. So in the first motion, the elimination of the roofing permits wasn't part of that motion at all. They pulled that whole piece out, and then they voted on it separately.
So for the benefit of folks that weren't there, the net result of those two motions was that the board supported all of the staff's recommendations on the 2018 International Residential Code, and that was, clear direction in total when you look at the sum total of their motions.
But the second motion can't undo the first motion.
Again, what they did in the first motion was pulled out that piece related to elimination of the roofing permit process. That's what the first motion does.
It's not worded well.
That may be.
It
May not be
is
worded
not
well.
It was
But
very confusing.
Fortunately,
very
the only
confu-
thing that ultimately matters is what's adopted by the ordinance, as long as the intent of the board is clear.
I mean, there was a lot of confusion that night.
Sometimes-
There was a lot of
And
confusion.
that happens sometimes.
Well, it
Sometimes
needs to be clarified. I think,
Sometimes
next time.
discussions are dynamic in a committee of the whole meeting, and I think we just did. We clarified it.
Well, if the motion was on the floor, it's too late to clarify it. It should have been clarified before the vote. And it says, except for the elimination of the roofing permits, not the part that comes out of the IRC. It says, except for that. And then it looks like the second motion is just undoing the first one.
I understand that that's how
Okay.
you're seeing it, and you're definitely entitled to read it that way. It's my understanding that's not the intent of the board, and that the intent of the board will be clear in the motions that are made tonight. I understand that that's how you're seeing it, but that isn't the intent of the board.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Moons. All right, we have a motion and a second. John, did you have something?
Yeah, I mean, just to clarify, because it was very clear to all of us that were there, there was discussion about the roofing permit process and whether or not that should continue. And if we wanted to deny staff's recommendation, then that's what would have been said. Instead, it said that except for the elimination of the roofing permits, so that then there could be a follow-up motion so that all the trustees could vote the way that they believed the permit process should move forward. So I wasn't confused, neither were any of my colleagues, because they're all shaking their head in unison, that we all understood it, and you were in attendance. So I apologize if we weren't clear, but our intent was very clear that evening. Thank you.
All right, if no other comments, then we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the next motion under item A, reported by trustee Scaletta.
Thank you, Mayor. I will move now, as I did that evening, to recommend that the village board eliminate the roof permit process and ask staff to report back with the progress of the elimination of it in 1 year of the effective date.
Second.
Motion by trustee Scaletta, seconded by trustee Tinaglia. Any questions or comments from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Opposed.
And one nay by trustee Schwingbeck. We move on then to item B, and that's reported out by trustee Scaletta.
Thank you, Mayor. I will move now, as I did that evening, to recommend that the village board concur with the recommendation of the Building Code Review Board to adopt the 2017 National Electric Code as amended.
Second.
Motion by trustee Scaletta, seconded by trustee LaBedz. Any questions or comments from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, under item C, trustee Schwingbeck.
Thank you, Mayor. I move, as I did then, to recommend that the village board concur with the recommendation of the Building Code Review Board to adopt the 2018 International Building Code as amended.
Second.
Motion by trustee Schwingbeck, seconded by trustee Canty. Anything from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, under item D, trustee Scaletta.
Thank you, Mayor. I will move now, as I did that evening, to recommend that the village board concur with the recommendation of the Building Code Review Board to adopt the 2018 International Existing Building Code as amended.
Second.
Motion by trustee Scaletta, seconded by trustee Canty. Any questions from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, under item E, trustee Padovani.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll move now, as I did then, to recommend to the village board that the village board concur with the recommendation of the BRCB to adopt the 2018 International Property Maintenance Code as amended.
Second.
Motion by trustee Padovani, seconded by trustee Schwingbeck. Any questions from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, item F, trustee Tinaglia.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd like to move tonight, as I did then, to recommend that the village board concur with the recommendation of the BCRB to adopt the 2018 International Mechanical Code as amended.
Second.
Motion by trustee Tinaglia, seconded by trustee Rosenberg. Any questions or comments from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And next, under item G, trustee LaBedz.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. I move tonight, as I did then, to recommend that the village board concur with the recommendation of the BCRB to adopt the 2018 International Fuel Gas Code as amended.
Second.
Motion by trustee LaBedz, seconded by trustee Canty. Any questions or comments from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And next, under item H, trustee Tinaglia.
Thanks, Mayor Hayes. I'd like to move tonight, as I did then, to recommend that the village board concur with the recommendation of the BCRB to adopt the 2018 International Fire Code as amended.
Second.
Motion by trustee Tinaglia, seconded by trustee Padovani. Any questions or comments from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And finally, under item I, trustee Canty.
I move to recommend that the village board concur with the recommendation of the Building Code Review Board to adopt the 2018 International Swimming Pool and Spa Code as amended.
Second.
Motion by trustee Canty, seconded by trustee Tinaglia. Any questions or comments from the board or the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Right, thank you for those motions. And that is all under old business. So we move on to the consent agenda. Are there any members of the board who wish to remove an item on the consent agenda? Any members of the audience wish to remove an item on the consent agenda? Seeing none, are there any members of the board who wish to vote no or pass on any item on the consent agenda? Trustee Scaletta.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to recuse myself from approval of bids B as in boy, as I've recently worked with the vendor who is going to be awarded this this bid.
Okay, so noted. Anything else? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
By trustee Tinaglia, seconded by trustee LaBedz. Roll call.
Trustee Tinaglia.
Yes.
Trustee LaBedz.
Yes.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Yes.
Trustee Padovani.
Yes.
Trustee Rosenberg.
Yes.
Trustee Scaletta.
Yes.
Trustee Canty.
Yes.
President Hayes.
Yes. Well, we move on then to new business, and we do have one very important item tonight, and that's request for sign variations by the Metropolis Performing Arts Center. And so we've got a number of representatives here. Who's going to be the spokesman? Mr. Dady?
I will step up.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks to staff, Robin, Randy, for all your help with this. Present from the Metropolis Board, Jim Bertucci, Ryan Cutlip, Colleen Hungarian, Les Beach, and Karen Williams. So we have almost everybody from the board, staff, of course, Joe Keefe,
Cool.
Randall Klaproff, and Neil. Why don't you come on up here? Carl is not here. So I want to thank the village staff for all their work on this. This is a very important day for us, I believe. Hopefully we'll get approval. As you know, a couple of years ago, we renovated the lobby, and that was a significant improvement to the theater. We believe that this is equally as important, if not more so. According to Mr. Keefe, who knows everything about theaters and theater operations, he anticipates that this will generate revenues of increases of about 10 to 15%. So, you know, as I say, we've worked very closely with staff. As a matter of fact, Steve Hautzinger, I believe it is, very instrumental in coming up with the design. And I think I'll just let Neil take it away.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Steve. Thanks. As Steve said, this is going to be transformational for the theater. It's not only going to be for the theater, but for the whole downtown. We think it's going to be a real center point, and it's really going to drive traffic. It'll now be the reference point for everything downtown. And we're very excited about the whole proposal. The size of the marquee, if you look at the current, can you go back to the canopy? The current canopy is 26 feet wide. It comes out from the building about 8.5 feet, and the height is about 8 feet. The new marquee will be the same width at 26 feet wide. It'll come out 6 inches more to 9 feet, and the height will be about 9 inches higher than the current canopy goes. The lights on the red portion of the marquee are all fully dimmable. So if it gets too bright, those can be dimmed. The electronic screens on both sides are fully auto ambient light adjustable. So as it gets brighter outside, those will get brighter. As it gets darker outside, they'll get dimmer. And underneath, that will stay on. So that the top part of the marquee, will be off at 11 o'clock at night. The underside of the marquee will stay on till an hour after the ale house closes for safety reasons. If it's icy out or something, you don't want it dark under there. There's also can lights above the doors there that will stay on, but the marquee will add extra lighting for safety. We did have a residents meeting on October 15th. We had all the materials in the Metropolis lobby both before and after that meeting for residents to review. We only had one person actually from across. We had about 20 come to the meeting. One person who lives directly across from the front entrance on the 3rd floor was very concerned about the lighting, but as soon as she saw that it was coming off at 11 o'clock, she said, "I'm fine, go for it." So we actually did not get any negative feedback from the residents who live down there. I guess that's about all I have to say about this. It's just really exciting. We've been working on this now for the better part of 5.5 years. We thought we had sold naming rights at one point for the theater, which Charles' department came up with the original design. This is pretty much based on that design. There's not a whole lot different. The variances we're asking for are the 2 electronic signs. So the theater is zoned for a marquee, but the electronic signs are not zoned for downtown, so that's one variance. The other variance is we're asking to have sponsors on the marquee in a very small. The recommendation from the Design Commission was that it cannot exceed 10% of the total message on the sign. So it can't advertise Peggy Canane's $5 Burger Wednesdays. So it's just to acknowledge our sponsors, since you're not allowed to have another business's name on your electronic sign. So those are the 2 variances we're requesting tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Scheifler. Mr. Perkins, do you have something to add?
Just to echo what has been said, we've worked with Metropolis for quite a while on the details on this sign. A marquee sign is allowed for a theater in the downtown area. So the only 2 variations are the electronic component on the sides of the sign here, and then the off-premise advertising. We don't want Schaumburg Ford advertising in Arlington Ford's neighborhood, so to speak. But what the theater is proposing is very tastefully. These are examples that they provided. And in the bottom, you can see the sponsor of this particular show is Arlington Racecourse, and then there's another sponsor over here. So it's being done very tastefully, and both staff and the Design Commission recommended approval of the 2 variations.
Charles, can you just go back to the slide where it shows how far the sign sticks out from the building and emphasizes the fact, there you go, that it doesn't overhang the street at all?
Mm-hmm. Yes, this is actually a mock-up that the theater did. Had the sign company actually fabricate a kind of a banner, so to speak, that represented the actual dimensions of how the sign would anchor from the building and project out. So you can see it only projects about halfway across the sidewalk. It doesn't come close to the curb line of the street.
Okay, great. Well, thank you. Well, just for my 2 cents, this is a long time coming, and I think it's going to do a lot to enhance not only the theater, but also our downtown. I think this is a variation that I'm 100% in support of, because we do look at these things on a case-by-case basis, and I think the justification for exceptions to our rules in this case are completely warranted, and I think it's going to be a great addition to our downtown. So
Thank you.
very much looking forward to seeing this come to fruition. So further questions or comments from the board? Trustee Canty.
I am very excited to see this as well. I think everybody knows I've been a huge proponent of Metropolis since we moved here. It's the reason that we decided to stay in Arlington Heights when we moved here. It really is home. And I know it's very early, and I'm sure people will have a lot to comment on, but I do want to move that we approve the 2 variations as recommended by the Design Commission. One from Chapter 30, Section 30-801.c.2 to allow a theater marquee with electronic message displays where only manual change displays are allowed, and Variation 2 from Chapter 30, Section 30-120.f to allow off-premises advertising on the theater marquee electronic message displays for theater sponsor names where off-premises advertising is prohibited.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by Trustee Canty, seconded by Trustee LaBedz, and it's subject to all the conditions as well, just for clarification. Yes. Okay. Further questions or comments? Trustee Tinaglia.
Thanks, Mayor Hayes. So, Neil, just a couple of quick questions and maybe one comment. Is this a sign that's constructed, manufactured off-site?
Yes.
And then installed?
Yeah, so it's
manufactured
manufactured by a company called Southwater Signs. That's located locally in Elmhurst. I should mention that we did put, there's only about 5 businesses in the U.S. that make these anymore. We did put out an RFP to all 5. Southwater, Ace Sign Company out of Springfield, Illinois, and Wagner Signs out of Elyria, Ohio were the only 3 that responded. As we refined the bid process, Southwater was the one we decided to go with. They do manufacture this in their facility in Elmhurst, and then it would be brought out here to put up. It'll take it'll take about 4 months to fabricate. It'll take about 2 weeks to install. And they will be removing the current canopy as well as the banners. We have 2 banners that are above the theater doors as well. Those will come off.
So the tiebacks that you have shown in
Yes.
black here, those are structural components.
Correct.
Those actually are going to be help holding this thing.
Correct. And we do have the engineering study.
And those guys did all the engineering. They did all the fabrication. They did everything so that you're really buying from one entity
vendor.
to do all the work and then install it as well, right? So you have one place to go to on it.
Right.
Great.
I
Awesome.
only got one person to blame.
Other than Neil, of course.
Other than me. Yeah. Right. Well, and just a little bit about Southwater Signs, too. They're the ones that refurbish the marquee at Wrigley Field. They do work for businesses all over the U.S. and Canada. They're a very highly reputable business.
Right.
So we picked a good one.
Yeah. No, it looks great, and I think your answers were exactly what I was hoping for, so that's great. A couple of comments. One on the east and the west boards that you're talking about. How big are those? I think you had a picture
Those are
up
about
here.
3 by 6. Is that right, Rick? We have Rick and Adrian from Southwater Signs are here tonight as well.
And are those actual like TV monitors quality? Is that what those are graphic wise?
Rick, why don't you
You're
come
going to have
on
to
up?
come up if you're going to speak.
This is Rick Mojuk from Southwater Signs.
Hey everyone, thanks for having us. What was your question? I'm sorry.
Well, on the east side, well, that picture, well, okay, this one works too, where it says Mousetrap.
Yes.
Those video boards, number one, about how big are those, and are those actual TV monitor quality displays, or are they something different?
So they are not like your 1080p or 4K televisions. I mean, we could get it that crisp, but for pricing purposes, I mean, this is It's close to.
Okay.
Close to like 720.
Okay.
As far as the viewing.
Right.
The size, the viewing area is 4'8" by 8'4".
All right. And are these, Neil, do you expect any of these, how often will they change?
No frequently than every 10 seconds.
Okay, so
The same as the village sign here on the corner,
Right.
wherever it is, over here.
And the whole goal here is to advertise what's up and coming.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
And nothing's moving.
No, there will be no flashing lights of any kind anywhere, no rolling lights, no
No
moving
animation.
lights, no animation, no nothing.
And how do you keep a control of the intensity of this monitor? I know you had dimmability on the marquee itself, but this monitor.
The monitor is auto ambient light adjustable.
Is that what you were saying before?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thanks, I missed that. All right, well, I was going to just say that visually from the east, I think that is such a critical, key, and important piece to this development as you walk up and down Vale to be able to turn to the west and see down there and recognize, holy cow, that's where the metropolis is, because you're going to see this video board sticking out, and right now it's kind of nondescript.
We will no longer have anybody coming up to us at Promenade of Art or Main Event asking where Metropolis is.
Yeah, right. It'll be pretty obvious, so it's fantastic.
Yeah.
And while it's maybe not as important facing west, at some point, someday, hopefully it becomes
It will
equally
be once
important.
425 is
Yeah,
built.
once some things happen over that way.
Mr.
So-
Trustee, if I could add just one thing to your thinking there.
Yes.
The east one, if
Sir,
if Vale and
sir,
Campbell.
your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Joe Keefe. I'm the executive artistic
Can you tell us
director of
anything that's
Metropolis.
coming up again with the metropolis? Anything soon?
I would share with you that the east-facing one, if the traffic at Vale and Campbell on an annual basis, if we have 1% of that traffic by 2 tickets annually, that's 28,000 more people who would attend Metropolis Performing Arts Center to see a show, for example, like Elizabeth von
There it
Trapp
is. I knew it was coming.
this Wednesday, will be here for Home for Christmas, and there are a few tickets left, just a few tickets left. But, for example, that was one example. The Glenn Miller Band tomorrow, for example, for 2 shows as well.
You're going to never let me down, Joe. I love that about you.
I can sell a ticket.
You can, and you're the best at it.
I also want to add that this is all being privately funded. So we're doing it all through private donations, we still have a couple business proposals out. We have a couple grants that are being reviewed by Senator Gillespie. So we're not asking the village for any money, unless you want to. I mean, we'll take money from anybody.
So what is your timing?
So we're hoping to tomorrow go to the building department and pull permits, start the permit process, get fabricating by January 1, hopefully install end of April, early May.
So the financing is good enough, you're settled enough?
We've raised 75% of the funds so far.
All right, great.
Through pledges and already collected donations, but we still have a little bit to go.
All right.
But we'll get there.
I don't want to take up any more time, but I do have one question for Mr. Dady, if he wouldn't mind taking the witness stand, please.
Yes.
So Mr. Dady, through how many years were you a trustee?
1 or 2.
No, I mean it. How many dozens of years were you a trustee?
16.
And in those 16 years, how many sign variations did you approve? Did you vote to approve?
I approved every one that staff recommended.
I just think this is awesome. that here you stand, and here we all sit. And the good news is it's for a wonderful cause, and we're obviously all, I shouldn't say all, I'm very supportive of it. I suspect everyone is too. But the comedy behind this, for those who don't know, Steve was a trustee for years and years and years. And the zoning ordinance for our sign code was less than perfect. And there were things that I think Steve took a stand on and said, you know, if you're not going to change the zoning code, I'm going to vote no. And he did. So for all those years, and now you're here for, so what do you have to say for yourself?
I would say this is actually Neil's request for a variation.
Well, it's very poetic, and I'm just thankful to be here to do it with you, Steve.
Well, thank you. I appreciate your comments.
All right, other questions? Trustee Scaletta.
Thank you. I just want to start out by saying for the record that Neil and I have talked over the years about different sign companies, and this was one sign company that I gave Neil the contact information from. I've never done any business with them, but they were referred to me by another movie theater in the marketplace, and they came highly recommended. I'm going to leave it at that, but I have no conflict of interest, so I'm going to continue to speak. Can you explain? I'm having one. I love the sign. I love every part of it. I think it's tasteful. I think that it's be well recognized, that people will be able to find the theater easier. But the bottom of it, I'm a little bit thrown by, and because I think the sunburst looks fantastic. But going through the minutes, they were talking about how the gold part of the bottom of the canopy is not going to be lit up. So is there enough lighting with just the starburst and the LED lights that are on there?
Yeah, I'll let you talk to the.
So those white kind of stripes that you see, those are all lighting aspects as well.
So the red stripes with the white lights in them.
Right.
The red stripes coming out of the starburst.
Got that.
And then as well as those stripes coming from the starburst as well. Those are all LED lit lights at, I think we said 40.
Okay, because that almost looked like it was painted, and that's what I was wondering. I'm like, because I think it's going to look beautiful.
And that gold will very closely match the gold doors that are on the front of the building right now.
Excellent.
Yeah. Okay. And all that white, basically on that bottom section, all that white that you see is illumination.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I was pleased to hear about that you guys are self-financing this.
Yeah.
And that you're not looking for any funding from the food and beverage
Unless you want to.
fund. No, we don't. And I was going through the minutes, and it said the petitioner submitted a letter addressing the hardship criteria, which in the summary states that the existing signage for the theater is lacking and patrons have a difficult time locating the theater. Additionally, the small poster boxes are insufficient to promote theater productions. The new marquee is necessary to clearly identify the theater. And then they quote Mr. Dady saying he reiterated the difficulty visitors sometimes have in finding the theater and added that the studies have shown that a marquee like this will increase attendance. I feel like I'm reading the Arlington Theater proposal from 12 years ago that you voted no on, Steve.
Well, that was a sign that wasn't permitted within the zone.
It needed variation, didn't it? But Steve, I'm on the high road, so. I will say that the entire packet, the signs were all nicely detailed. I like everything about this, and as you know, I'm supportive of Metropolis, and I am supportive of the sign variation. I'm doing it for Joe, though.
Thank you.
And Neil.
Thank you.
And everybody else. Thank you.
Trustee LaBedz.
Thank you. I'm also very supportive of this, as well as very supportive of the Metropolis, as you well know. And I just have a couple questions about the lighting aspect and the control of it. How is that going to work? Is
Really
it
well.
well? Besides that,
Yeah.
is it timer based? Is it? And you mentioned, Neil, something about you could, if it's too bright, you can make change. Or can you talk a little bit about how it's going to work?
Sure. So all the lighting, there's going to be there'll be multiple components on each individual side or aspect of the lighting, and it's almost like a dimmer switch in your house that you could turn up and turn down. So that's basically how these guys, if they're getting complaints or whatever, know. Once it turns on, it's going to turn on by a timer or a photo cell. But if it's too bright, they could just basically lower the controls down to a lower light source.
And there are different zones for each of the faces.
Okay, and then how will the advertising part of that work?
Oh, everything's loaded on. It's basically like it's loaded onto a laptop, which then directs the message right to there on a schedule. So Neil could be in his house programming it to be on the board, and it's basically you could do it 365 days out of the year. So you could have a schedule run for a week, or you could have a schedule run for a month, or so on. So.
Okay, so if you have like a single presented show, then for one night only, you can have that, and you can change it up as you need to easily.
Correct.
Rick explained earlier that it's kind of like putting something in Google Calendar. You can schedule it that easily.
By the second. Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
If I may address one point of that, theaters on Belmont Avenue in Chicago will experience anywhere between 10 and 15%, some theaters there, Stage 773, for example, will be walk-up traffic that day. And much of that traffic is communicated by people seeing what's on that as they're going out to dinner or making a decision about their day. At Metropolis, it's well below 5%. We may be in the 2% range of that. And particularly what you said with shows that are single event shows, Bacon Brothers being at the high end, but concerts, for example, and especially off-night concerts where people may not know that we've got something going on. If they didn't get the postcard or if they didn't see the ad, we don't have the opportunity to communicate with them. And Neil has and Steve have reinforced over and over, it's Main Taste and Art Promenade and the holiday events that are occurring right now. The lost opportunities that we have on a daily basis are so staggering, and this will give us the ability to capture that over and over. The Santa Run. If we'd been able to share with people that Elizabeth Von Trapp will be here on the 18th of December, for example, then they may have known that. And thank you very much.
Thank you. That's all I had. Thanks a lot. It's going to be great.
Trustee Schwingbeck.
Thank you, Mayor Hayes. Well, the packet answered almost all my questions. I was glad you talked a little bit about the construction, on how long the sidewalk was going to see interruption. I really hope that we see that 10 to 15% increase. As with Trustee LaBedz, I'm supportive of the theater, and we love going to the events. My only question, and Mr. Keefe, is
I think that's my
for you.
Thank you.
With all this phenomenal marketing on the side,
Yes.
does this mean that you're not going to come and talk to us anymore?
Oh no, you'll never.
I'd be very disappointed if you did.
We look forward to the opportunity. If it has a revenue potential to generate in its first year anywhere between $400,000 and $800,000 in additional revenue just by it being present, not anything more, no, just advertising what we already have and not manipulating or changing any shows or anything along that line. And that for us is I would reinforce, not just for the board but for residents at home as well. This is an opportunity to advance the interests of Metropolis. Tonight, for example, we have more than 300 patrons at our theater for Emmett Cahill, a great Irish tenor. That was at least 40 tables for Peggy Canans, at least 40 tables for Mago. To say that for a December 16th Monday night, that is a very powerful revenue generator, not just for us, but for all downtown. And every one of you, I hope, know we take that so seriously. We're in show business, and we put on great shows, and we try to run a great business, and this will help us do that. Thank you.
Well, and you didn't talk about it, but I will be there tomorrow for the Glenn Miller.
I think Glenn Miller has 2 shows tomorrow. We have a 3 and a 7:30 show, by the way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And he didn't mention it, but Elizabeth Von Trapp is there Wednesday night. So.
All right, anything further from the board? Trustee Padovani.
And I just want to echo everything said here and how wonderful this marquee will be and how wonderful the Metropolis is. My question again for Mr. Keefe is, you mentioned just recently to us that how many tickets were sold last year at the Metropolis?
This year we anticipate more than 92,000 patrons in our building. That incorporates about 64,000 of paid patrons, and then students and other visitors in that line as well. That would total up to 92,000. That's up from 58,000 4 years ago. And we expect that curve to continue. One other metric that we'd like to share with you is that this year we've passed 2,000 subscribers, and that's up 700 subscribers from 4 years ago.
And those folks coming to those 92,000, they're coming mostly from outside of Arlington Heights?
75% are from outside Arlington Heights zip code. And again, for your information, the larger an institution gets, the fewer they get from their own zip code, just by nature. Goodman Theater, you can imagine, their 2% come from their zip code. So that's actually a metric we want to get. And every patron that comes, a paying patron that comes to us, it's about $42.50 that they spend in addition to the ticket price. So we look at $4.5 million in positive economic impact for downtown Arlington Heights, and we're looking to increase that next year. Every year we want to see that curve increase.
So this marquee is just going to help this jewel in the Arlington Heights crown here, and we're so happy that you're doing it.
Well, thank you very much. We're thrilled, and thank you so much for the opportunity.
Anything further from the board? All right, I have no blue cards on this item, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Well, congratulations to the whole team.
Thank you very much. Very excited. Thanks.
Yeah, again, just thanks to the whole team at Metropolis. I know a lot of representatives are here tonight. I know you've all got a big part in this very successful effort on behalf of not just the theater, but our community. So thanks for all you do for Arlington Heights.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, trustees. Thank you very much.
Have a nice holiday. Thank you.
All right, there is no other new business, and so we would move on then to the report of the village manager, Mr. Eckloff.
Nothing this evening.
Well, under petitions and communications, this is our last village board meeting of 2019. We will not meet again until 2020, and so I just want to advertise one additional event in the community coming up on this Sunday evening at 4:30 p.m. That's the Community Hanukkah celebration and menorah lighting at North School Park, Sunday, December 22nd at 4:30 p.m. Hopefully the weather will be good and we'll have a good celebration. And of course, Christmas and New Year's before we meet again. And so we wish everyone a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. Be safe out there. That's most important. But spend the time with your family and friends, and always give thanks for all the blessings in your lives. We have a lot to be thankful for in the village of Arlington Heights. And so we just encourage you to have a great time and be safe out there. Anything further from the board? Trustee Padovani.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to remind everyone that on Christmas Day, Christmas morning, the Christian Liberty Academy here in Arlington Heights will be hosting 35 sailors from Great Lakes Naval Training Center, the Recruit Training Center, who can't go home for that holiday. And so they're bringing them down here very much like the American Legion does on Thanksgiving to give those young men and women a wonderful experience away from home. And it's just more part of the culture and the community of Arlington Heights supporting our men and women in uniform. And the invitation is to everybody who would like to be there around 9 o'clock to welcome these young sailors when they get off the bus and go into the Christian Liberty Academy. Come on down just for a few minutes and welcome them as they get off the bus, and just let them know that we all appreciate them serving our nation.
Thanks, Trustee Padovani. If nothing further, then I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
By Trustee Tinaglia, seconded by Trustee LaBedz. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Thank you all for joining us this evening.